My name is Ashley Shine. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the creator, the writer, director, executive producer, and lead actress in #TMI.
I'm Donzel, and I play the character Pharrell in #TMI.
My name is Pavar. I am Ashley's sister in the wonderful TMI.
I'm Alexandria Ortiz, and I play Maria Rodriguez.
I'm Baruchi. My pronouns are they, them. And I play the character of Rain Chi.
My name is Tanya Young, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I had the thrilling opportunity to play Jordan Black in this perfectly delicious piece that Ashley and everyone created.
My name is Jackie Steele, and I play Sharon.
So as far as the writing process, this was only supposed to initially be a 3-minute sketch. But then I enjoyed working with Donzel so much, and he started talking about how difficult it is being an actor here in Los Angeles and trying to get roles, especially queer roles. And so that really started dawning on me as we ended up being in an improv group together called Rainbow Bright Comedy, and then I just started writing. And then I went to see Desiree Akhavan's The Bisexual, and she said something during her commentary, which was, you know, we don't have enough representation, and I can't be the only bisexual writer out there. And I was just like, well, why don't I just tell my story? I didn't know how to really. I've never done a web series before. I've always just waited for roles. So to all of a sudden jump into directing, all of a sudden to jump into writing, I just took bits and pieces from my experiences and compiled them. And then I am all about building community. And so I'm a part of this wonderful community at Upright Citizens Brigade. I have worked with Janet before. She's wrote some amazing, amazing, funny sketches. I know Alexandria from another project. And then my wife ended up, she's one of the executive producers, she ended up hosting on the UCB board, and people came through and said that they wanted to come and help and be a part of it. And when we were doing the party scene, I just was like, there's no extras here. Everybody's gonna get a line, everyone, no matter what. And so I really, the community just came through for me and really supported my whole writing process, and I'm just so grateful.
I'm Tamara. I am Ashley's sister. And for me, being an African-American woman over the age of 40, living in Hollywood, and also being a woman with a disability, it was so great to be able to jump in to play a character that's fun and professional and a little bit sassy and has this great natural relationship with her sister. And it wasn't about the character having a disability, it was a character that just also happens to have a disability, which is really important when it comes to representation. And the fact that Ashley included that in the project is incredibly important to me. And it's another one of the great reasons why I was so happy to be a part of it and be a part of this love story that we have going on here.
The sentiments that Pavar shared are very close to my heart as well. That's what I love about this project is Ashley did a great job of writing a beautiful script that has 3-dimensional characters all around. And I don't know everything that's on TV, but I definitely don't know of a show where there's a Black gay male that's fully 3-dimensional, that isn't rooted in something in American fascination around hypermasculinity or hyperfemininity. That's what it always is about with Black men in Hollywood here, is your role is either how masculine you are, pushing against the stereotype of the feminine, or how feminine you are. Or if not, you have a show like Pose, which is a beautiful show, but it's rooted in Vogue culture, which is a very specific thing. And so I can't name a character on TV where a Black gay man is just a Black gay man living. And it was great to be offered a role where I got to do that, where I didn't have to dance, I didn't have to sing to be the character, I didn't have to be uber, feminine to create the laughs, and I didn't have to say, my manhood is just as valid as your manhood because I can be just as masculine. And that was the most rewarding thing, was just to be able to be handed a script and say, go live, go be. Here's your stories. And it was great to also have it come from someone who is also of color, right? And to, be working next to my sister here in Hollywood, who has written this beautiful script. And I remember I read it and she sent me the script and she said, something to the effects of, look this over. I don't know your full story, but, I want to make sure that I get it right. The care for that came from that writer. And I remember when I read it, I said, Ashley, thank you. Like, I think you wrote my story better than I can. Like, wait a minute. I don't have anything to add or subtract. Girl, you did it. And so I believe in Ashley so much and in this project so much because of what she's done. And even on set, the inclusiveness of the people around us was a big deal to Ashley that made a beautiful set. And so I think, what I would say is this project, honestly, I feel just set a new standard and raised the bar in Hollywood of what inclusivity really truly is and what it truly looks like. She didn't do it for an agenda. She just did it because it was a story that needed to be told. And she looked around and said, where are the gaps? Where are the holes? Who is missing? And let's make sure they're here.
It was incredible. I got, I did a couple different things on the project that I'll talk about, but, when Ashley asked me to play this role, I'm a comic. So being a loudmouth who's constantly taking control of a room is my gift, right? So not too far of a leap, but Sharon is literally every queer power player that I just can't stand. So, but it was fun to lean into that, right? Because as a bi woman, living this life, living in this space, I've heard all of it, right? You hear it. And I think one of the interesting things is looking at it through this lens where you have to face it. You have to just look at and realize, oh, that's what you hear that every day. Like, that's what you get from people. Yeah, that's what we get. That's what we get. So being able to bring that to life, I did lean in and I really enjoyed that. This is my first acting gig, so that was interesting. It was great, and working with this cast was incredible. Donzel, let me just say, Donzel's engaging and funny when he's like 3 hours asleep. Okay, so you meet these people that just are talented and have this energy and this vibrance about them, and Ashley pulled together this incredible group of people that just did the damn thing, and that was incredible, and it was great to be around. And I also line produced, so working with Ashley on that level as well was really great. It's great.
So yeah, I played the role of Rain, and Ashley was like, Rude, I just want you to be yourself. But no, I think Rain is kind of like that stuck-up girl in the office. But the thing is, Rain or me, we're non-binary, so I think it's just really important that personally for me, right now I just shaved my hair because of whatever reasons. But I right now I'm presenting more masculinely. But deep down I'm very hyper feminine, but I'm not quite a woman. But it's just it's just a little difficult in Hollywood because it's unless they want a trans woman, it's really hard to find roles. So I think it's really important to start having more characters where the gender isn't so defined, and we allow people to just be themselves. And
it really honestly felt so organic, everything coming together. And like Donzel said, it set a new standard. It was this is walking into a room of women of color, of people that are non-binary, that are all on the spectrum of the LGBTQ community. That should just be normalized. That should just be something that we walk into and see all over.
As someone who, after you don't always get to do principal work, so I got to go from mostly doing background work to doing principal work. I know this is very trivial, but when you're background, you never get to wear red, black, or white. So when I was allowed to dress myself, I wore black and white because I could. And then, you know, just to talk about the culture of acting, you know, honestly, you're showing up places, you don't necessarily know everyone except from a text or an email. And so it feels very much like a first date. You're in a new place, you're with a whole bunch of people, and you're kind of, you know, wanting to be polite and careful, but it was just such a reassuring vibe. You know, Ashley and Seppi's pets were there. Everyone was very gracious in terms of like offering a place to sit, and there were snacks and water. You know, you kind of felt at home, which liberated you to relax and kind of do your art. And I think that all of those things are important features of participating in this project, because there are a lot of people who are going to watch this who are, you know, wondering about it and wanting to take that leap.
Okay, so I played Andrea, and I'm the disapproving mom. So I mean, I am a bi woman, and that was so I am not disapproving, and so that was very difficult for me. And Ashley knew that, but you know, as everybody has said here, you know, Ashley's just an incredible person and able to, you know, I think the key word for me was like trust, because you trust Ashley, you know, just implicitly. You're like, you know, you're going to be taken care of. She just really, you know, got something out of me that I didn't even know was there, you know, when we started the day.
I'm originally from Dayton, Ohio, and growing up, I would have trouble reading and concentrating, and I didn't know until I was in college at the University of Toledo that I was dyslexic. So every tutor would get frustrated with me only because I didn't know how to properly memorize things or study for things. So once I found that out in college, I was able to really implicate that and how I study, read lines, and everything. So that was very challenging because when I get tired, I'll read things backwards. It's hard to try to keep your eyes on everything that's going on as far as directing and acting, and just making sure, you know, you're creating a safe space on set. That was the most challenging for me. And I'm so proud that I got through it. But there was a few times, especially as beautiful as that office scene looks, it is a loft. All the stuff was exposed, the pipes, and every 5 minutes there was running water. And and then when we walked in, there was a trombone class that was going on for an hour. And I had to get on the phone and call the people that I rented the space from and say, hey, now I just lost an hour. These are the things that I wish I would have known prior to shooting, that the things that could come up. Also, our beautiful party scene, that was a reshoot, and a very expensive reshoot. But I'm so happy that the second time it was amazing, but it was a lot of like time, like Donzel had to leave. So we had to get shots in within 2 hours, like stuff that is like unheard of. Like I need everybody to be on their mark, and we are just gonna have to go. So I'm just happy, you know, Jackie was a line producer. She's also a really, really, really close friend that I trust. And she really held space for me when there was moments that I needed silence on set because noise seems to distract me. So for anybody that has like a learning disability, just figure out what works for you, especially when you're in production. So for me, I like to take my monsters and write them in a way that people can understand where I'm coming from and build it and intertwine it with comedy. So this actually is based off of like a version of a real story when I was working at a spa. And it didn't have anything to do with my bisexuality. It had everything to do with my race and a woman using the N word and other racial slurs. And at the end of the day, when I stood up for myself, they decided that they were still going to keep her on payroll. And so I wanted to, from all the stories that I hear from Jackie about, you know, bisexual experiences, the things that I've gone through, I was just like, you know, we've never really seen that many bisexual stories. Why is that? Like, let's just get down to the real reason of why this is and just say it out loud. And so my sides are all of my different inner thoughts that I always have to kind of check in with to see which part of this am I going to lean into. And Daisha couldn't be on this call, but Daisha plays the side of me that is the trauma side, that is the oppressed side, that is the genetic slavery that has been passed on from generations to generations. And I thought it was very important for that character to be so fed up at the end that she's just like, if they can't accept you, then it's just time to go.
One of the things that I massively respect about Ashley and her writing is the inclusiveness of the stories that are not being told in our day-to-day lives. There's the author, I believe her name is Chimamanda Adichie. She's the one who wrote the book, the novel Americana. She was also featured in Beyonce's Flawless song. That's when she became like worldwide famous, because she's the one who does that speech, the TED Talk, Why We All Should Be Feminists, and she breaks down what it means to be a feminist. But she also has a TED Talk called something about the power of the single story. And it talks about how American culture is so fascinated with a single narrative. And we perpetuate these single stories, and we shut out the rest of the stories. And what ends up happening is we believe the single story. We believe that queer life is only representative of the things we see on TV because that's the only thing being shown. So if you're only being shown a single story and you're in a culture who educates you to believe that only this story that's been told to you in the textbook is the correct story, and you're not taught that there are, in one issue, there are several stories to that one thing, and you need to go and hear all those stories. If you aren't taught that, why should you think that there are other stories out there? And so what's so great about this is Ashley brings in those other stories. And she brings in from our experience that we go through love, we go through heartbreak, we go through career decisions, we go through all the things that a heterosexual life, you know, character would have. All these things in a movie or in a TV show, if they were to happen, no one would question them. No one would say, you know, oh, well, it's interesting that, you know, this scene happened here and did this. We just would accept it. But it's so powerful in seeing 2 episodes of #TMI because those stories have been left out. Now, if those stories have never been left out, then it wouldn't be so powerful to us. And it just speaks to the lack that is in Hollywood across all sides of the table. The writing is lacking, the directing is lacking, the acting, the character representation, it's all lacking telling inclusive stories. And a lot of mainstream television and film is only perpetuating one narrative. And we have to push against that. We have to expand the voices, and we have to break this single story narrative and accept that I am just as complicated and complex of a human as is my heterosexual brother next to me.
It was very important for me to tell this particular story because I would seek to see myself on TV and couldn't find it for the longest time. And so I just think that everyone's stories are just valuable. And it's nice to see, even in, you know, Tanya and Alexandria's characters, how they even are like, no, you're gonna get my sexuality right in this moment. And they were just in love. Don't be afraid to tell your story, because your story is extremely what's needed and unique.
I think the message here is, look how hard it's not, right? Like, look how simple, and it's just about doing. So I think this is a big, big, big waving, blinking sign to Hollywood. Like, look how hard it's not, from script to set to scene across the board. That's the way that it was for this project, I think. And all of that started with Ashley, but it's also shown in all of the people that were a part of it, because it's a part of their fabric. It's a part of, how they want to walk through the world. So I think that, and then also, just be raw and honest and real. I mean, clearly that comes from Ashley. She's talking about her life, and she's giving you nuggets of her life right now, and her truth. And that's where all the best stuff comes from anyway. So I think those are the main things. And also, just in this time, just go do the damn thing, because it's going to be what it's going to be at this point. So you might as well get on out and make it happen.
I am of the belief that queer people should do queer roles. And, it's been debated since the dinosaurs. Kids these days, you're at home, you're watching a movie, you're watching a TV show, you see this character, they're like, oh, I'm bi, or I like women. And what do? You Google the actor, right? You Google the actor, and then you find out, oh, what? Like, they're straight? It matters, because we're like looking for a identification to these characters, to these actors. And when we find out that oh, they are queer like me, it helps. It makes you feel like, okay, there's opportunity, there's diversity, there's representation. The only reason why all my queer friends in LA haven't worked more is because no one ever gave us the opportunity. We've always had the talent, the skill, the whatever. It's just there was no work for us.
If you're a writer and you're watching this, be specific in your character description. Say, queer person of color, be specific. If you just put person, the name in 20s and no last name, or no, be specific so that casting knows to cast people in those roles. Otherwise it'll just go on by, and it'll be a very white cast. Which is what we've been seeing. So I would say be specific in casting, and it's never too late, because I got to LA in I won't tell you, late 30s, early 40s, but it's never too late. If you're meant to do this work, just do it.
I finished a season of #TMI, and it is way more juicier than the first 2 episodes. Let me tell you, it is some very fun reveals. There is a queer girls trip episode where we go to Palm Springs, and there is just so much to this world. There is also a Freaky Friday episode where Donzel and I switch, and you get to see that, because we have a debate on if it's easier to be bisexual or if it's easier to be gay. And so we have a day in which we do that, which I would love to shoot, because that writing that was just so funny for me. We just need the money, and also we need to get out of COVID. We need the money, and we need to get out of COVID. And so I really hope, my intention is to get distribution and to find a beautiful, safe home for hashtag TMI to live and breathe. And I would love to keep hiring and elevating my community and also my friends' resumes and having them just get into the door and then take off and just work and create their own amazing projects. I mean, Varut has a wonderful web series called Varut is on Fire. Janet is working and writing like crazy. Donzel has been in an off-Broadway production that was fabulous. I mean, Pavar is an amazing writer, so funny, so talented. Tanya and Alexandria and Jackie, they should just be working, period. Point blank, just period. So I just hope that with this, everybody just gets hired and can pay their lovely mortgages eventually, because we all deserve a house in the land.